Thank you so much for your service, Jyoti Mataji. So, Vishidanidam Abravid, he started lamenting in this mode of compassion and lamentation, and then he started speaking. So, now on in the verses, Arjuna gives several reasons why he cannot fight, and the first reason is compassion. And then we will see the various symptoms of his compassion will be exhibited in his body. That what happens to him on the basis of the body. All these symptoms will be exhibited. So now here one thing we need to understand is that it's not that pure devotee can become illusion like this. Arjuna was put into illusion. He is a pure devotee, but he is put into illusion because of Krishna's desire. So we all get the message of Bhagavad Gita. Last time I had mentioned that there are 700 verses in Bhagavad Gita, and each verse is giving us a teaching to take home on board for our own self, to build our own character and to live in a dharmic way as per Shastras. That is why Bhagavad Gita is forever. It is so relevant. So here Arjuna was bewildered doing his duty, and all the people in this world, they also get bewildered while doing their duties. So they also sometimes get confused. So Krishna prepared Arjuna to do his duty properly with proper knowledge and detachment as a service to Krishna. Similarly, when we also get bewildered or confused, we should have the right knowledge and we should perform our duties with detachment as a service to Krishna, and that's the theme here. So, and also Arjuna is speaking about non-violence also. We will see further on the why is there compassion. Compassion is based because he does not want them to die. That is why there is a compassion, because what is the result of war? These people are going to die. But Kshatriya king, or the one who is on the position where he has to protect his citizens, he is authorized to punish the miscreants or those who are unrighteous. And then he has to establish the dharma and protect the citizens and bring in positive change. So Arjuna is speaking of non-violence in many more verses going further, but he's forgetting his main duty that he has to protect. So, say for example, there are robbers in the kingdom and they start stealing from all the citizens and harass them, then the Kshatriya king cannot say that I am non-violent and I cannot kill, I cannot punish. He know, because of the four varnas we have seen before, that a Kshatriya's duty is to punish the miscreants and establish the dharma. So we know by now that everybody on the side of Duryodhan, they are unrighteous, because Duryodhan wants to usurp the kingdom that belongs to Pandavas by this sinful way. His desires are based on sins, they are based on greed, envy, and we have seen all this before. Here this is what is explained, and this kripaya paryavishto, Arjuna is overwhelmed with kripa. In that mood of compassion, what was he doing? He was lamenting. So now that's what this verse is about, the 27th verse, that after seeing all these relatives on the opposite side of the army, Arjuna became overwhelmed with compassion, and thus he spoke. Verse 28. Arjuna uvacha दृष्ट्वेमं स्वजनं कृष्ण युयुत्सं समुपस्थितं सिदन्ति मम गत्राणि मुखं च परिशुष्यति. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Arjuna said, "My dear Krishna, seeing my friends and relatives present before me in such a fighting spirit, I feel the limbs of my body quivering and my mouth drying up." So first we saw that there was a kripaya and vishidan, compassion and lamentation, and here that compassion is exhibiting in his bodily symptoms, that his limbs are quivering and his mouth is drying up. Srila Prabhupada's purport. Any one of you would like to unmute and read the purport? There are two parts. I will read the second slide.
Yes, please, Mataji.
Yes.
Oh, who spoke first? Please go ahead. Go ahead, Mataji.
Shall I?
Yes, Mitali Mataji.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Any man who has genuine devotion to the Lord has all the good qualities which are found in godly persons or in the demigods. Whereas the non-devotee, however advanced he may be in material qualifications by education and culture, lacks in godly qualities. As such, Arjuna, just after seeing his kinsmen, friends, and relatives on the battlefield, was at once overwhelmed by compassion for them who had so decided to fight amongst themselves. As far as his soldiers were concerned, he was sympathetic from the beginning, but he felt compassion even for the soldiers of the opposite party, foreseeing their imminent death. Do you want me to continue, Mataji?
Yeah, I wanted, is Dhruva there? Dhruva, you are there? Then you can read the second part. Okay, so he's not there. Anyone new here who has joined who would like to read the second part?
Shall I read it, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji, Bhagavati Mataji, please. Thank you.
And while he was so thinking, the limbs of his body began to quiver, and his mouth became dry. He was more or less astonished to see their fighting spirit. Practically, the whole community, all blood relatives of Arjuna, had come to fight with him. This overwhelmed a kind devotee like Arjuna. Although it is not mentioned here, still one can easily imagine that not only were Arjuna's bodily limbs quivering and his mouth drying up, but he was also crying out of compassion. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji. I will continue reading. Such symptoms in Arjuna were not due to weakness, but to his soft-heartedness, a characteristic of a pure devotee of the Lord. It is said, therefore, यस्यास्ति भक्तिर्भगवत्या किञ्चना सर्वैर्गुणैस्तत्र समासते सुराः हरावभक्तस्य कुतो महद्गुणा मनोरथेना सति धावतो बहिः. Srila Prabhupada says, one who has unflinching devotion for the personality of Godhead has all the good qualities of the demigods. But one who is not a devotee of the Lord has only material qualifications that are of little value. This is because he is hovering on the mental plane and is certain to be attracted by the glaring material energy. Srimad Bhagavatam 5:18-12. So this verse is so beautifully explained by Srila Prabhupada, and just by following on this purport, we will try to discuss now. And I would like to say here that what is Arjuna saying? Drishtve mam sva janam Krishna. Arjuna is saying, my dear Krishna, I have seen my swajanam. You see, my swajanam, my relatives. That's the whole problem. So here itself we can see what is the reason of his compassion is portrayed here when he says swajanam. So his beginning itself is bewilderment. He started identifying these people as his own. My people, my swajanam, my relatives, my relations. So that was his problem. I have seen my relatives. That is because of this attachment, he is feeling the compassion. He is thinking on the bodily plane. So Krishna first addresses this point that don't think they are your swajanam on a material plane. Later on we will see in the verse. But to briefly understand that on a spiritual level, every single living entity in the entire cosmic creation is swajanam only. How? See, you are part of Krishna, I'm part of Krishna. And Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Mamai Vamso Jiva Loke, Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. Krishna says that all the living entities are my parts, my amshas. So people may be born in a different countries, geographic locations, species, even different genders, but all of them are parts and parcel of Krishna, right? So that way entire world is our Swajanam. But the materialistic conditioned soul, what he does, that he thinks on the bodily conception of life, and he thinks that only few people are my Swajanam. And who are these people? Those with whom I have blood relationship. Only they are Swajanam. And my family members, they are my Swajanam. So other people are not my Swajanam, they are somebody else. So that's why here I wanted to just quote this verse here from Kunti Maharani to understand that where is this false bodily compassion is coming from. And we can see here pure devotee of Lord Krishna, Kunti Maharani says in the 41st verse, अथ विशेषा विवात्मान् विश्वमूर्ते स्वकेषु मे स्नेहपाशं मिमं छिन्दी दृढं पाण्डुषु वृष्णिषु. So what is saying Kunti Maharani here? She is saying in a very prayerful mood, she loves Lord Shri Krishna. At the same time, she is his aunt and she is his devotee. So she says that with lot of devotion, my dear Krishna, please let my deep attachment to family members be cut. Sneha Pasham. My affection for my family members towards Pandavas and Vrishnis is very strong. It's like a big bondage. It is binding. So Imam Chindi, please cut the knot. Please cut this knot. That is what she's saying. So Queen Kunti is praying. So we shouldn't think in that sense that, oh, family members are the tie. No, what she's saying is that please cut my relationship with Pandus and Vrishnis, which is based on material attachment, means only material aspect of our relation should be cut, but not on a spiritual plane. They are devotees. Kunti Maharani is a devotee, and all of us, we are connected to each other with you, Krishna. We are connected with you in the center. And that Vaishnava association, that Sangha, Kunti Maharani wants. So the material aspect, oh, when we say these are my sons, this is my family, that attachment she wants to be cut. That is the point of these verses here. And if that is cut, then the bodily compassion will not come in the picture, right? So that is why I wanted to quote this verse here. And then in the second verse is very beautiful. She says, Twayi me nanya vishaya matir madhupate sakrut. Ratim udva hatad adha gange vaudam udanvati. What does it mean? That let my mind be completely dedicated to yourself, like Ganga flows towards the ocean unobstructed. Similarly, let my mind constantly think about you, unobstructed, uninterrupted. So, a devotee of Krishna is expected to be more focused with his or her relationship with Krishna and see all the other living entities also in that relationship. So, I am connected to Krishna, he's, she's, everyone is connected to Krishna, and in that sense, we are all related. So, everybody is Swajanam. So it should not be just based on the body and blood relationship, because that is temporary anyway. All of us are souls for eternity, and so that is the permanent thing. And a wise person always focuses on the permanent aspect, right? Not on something temporary. So that's where Srila Prabhupada always mentions that the intelligent person just learns by hearing. And when we hear from the Shastras, if we learn like that, then that is the best way of taking advantage of Bhagavad Gita. So Arjuna, by Krishna's will, was overwhelmed, and by bodily conception here, He started thinking that all these people are his Swajanam on the basis of body, on the basis of skin relationship, and not in the soul relationship. So Srila Prabhupada explains that the soul relationship is permanent, and Drishtvevam Swajanam Krishna. After seeing my Swajanam, my own relatives, dear Krishna. So now one more thing in this verse is there is this word used here. Let's have a look. 1 minute. Yuyutsum. Yuyutsum samupasthitam. See, they are very eager to fight. That is the meaning of that line. And I'm very much perturbed by this fact. Now, that's what Arjuna is saying. Now, Dhritarashtra used this word as well. Remember Dharmashetre, Kurukshetre? So he also used this word yuyutsum in the first verse, and there he says Dharmashetre Kurukshetre Samaveta Yuyutsavaha. They have all assembled being very eager to fight. And who are they? For Dhritarashtra, it was Mamaka Pandavas Chaiva. So this is the difference between Dhritarashtra and Arjuna. Dhritarashtra had separated his sons and the Pandavas completely, because we saw in the first verse his mentality of I, me, and mine, right? We saw that he was so overcome with greed, fear, doubts, and lamentation, and he was living in illusion that and hoping to win in the adharmic way. He had separated his sons, and whereas here, what is Arjuna doing? He's not separating. He's even including Pandava's party as his Swajanam. So he's saying all the people in the battlefield. He's not talking about his side of the army. So this is the difference between a devotee and this materialistic way of thinking of Dhritarashtra. That a devotee always thinks of everyone as Swajanam, but then we all know here that the other problem here is one thing is very good, one perspective, that Arjuna is calling everyone Swajanam, even Duryodhana and party, who are thinking of him as enemy, but still he has compassion for them. So that is a devotee who is soft-hearted. And one more perspective that I was thinking about is that one can understand Bhagavad Gita if one is soft-hearted. A hard-hearted person, it's very difficult to understand Bhagavad Gita, because Srila Prabhupada says here clearly in the purport that this kind of, exhibiting compassion is these kind of qualities comes in a devotee automatically, but the problem here that has happened is that Arjuna is he needs to see from the spiritual vision. At the moment he is still hovering on the mental materialistic bodily compassion. So one good perspective is that he has become soft-hearted. He has become the right candidate to get the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, which Lord Shri Krishna will start speaking in 2nd chapter. So this is a preparatory verse to prepare the consciousness of Arjuna. Right consciousness, he's become very soft, like Lord Shri Krishna says, right, that there is written in Krishna book that he loves to eat butter, and butter is very soft and it is very white, the homemade butter. So like that, when our hearts become soft and pure as white, then Krishna will definitely come and steal our heart as well as he steals butter. So being soft-hearted is very important, to have a mercy, daya, compassion on everyone, but it should be based on the soul level. We should try and share Krishna consciousness with everyone, because soul is permanent and there is no loss in Bhakti Yoga. Wherever we stopped, we will start the next time. So wherever we had ended, Krishna gives the opportunity. So that's what I really wanted to discuss here, that it is very nice, gentle, kind person Arjuna, that he's feeling his feelings are very soft-hearted, and that has to be appreciated. But from a spiritual perspective, because he has apparently forgotten what is eternal and what is temporary, so from that sense, his compassion is criticized actually very heavily by Krishna in the next chapter. So that's what and in this respect, there is also this beautiful connection we can make with Srimad Bhagavatam pastime of Bharat Maharaj, actually. Because what is I'm sure everyone knows this pastime, but to cut it short, we know that great King Bharat, he ruled earth for thousands of years, and then he retires and goes to Badrikashram, and where he is doing nice spiritual practices of bhakti yoga. But one day, what happens when he goes on the banks of a river here to do his Sandhya Vandan and his prayers? He there suddenly he saw a pregnant deer, but when there was suddenly a lion roars very loudly, this deer gets very afraid and has a miscarriage, and the baby deer, here we can see very small baby deer, it fell down from mother deer and mother deer died. So what happens is Bharat Maharaj felt so compassionate, which is okay, and he picked it up, the newborn baby deer, and brought it to his ashram hermitage. And he next started giving the deer grass and all the facilities and started looking after, and this deer started nicely, healthily growing, which is very nice. So, but the problem here is that while doing all this, he completely forgot his spiritual practices. We can see here how he's looking so attached to the deer, and here he's doing some yagya and his spiritual sacrifice. But even while doing this practices, he's thinking of the deer. Oh, where that deer must be. And then sometimes the deer would come and touch the sacrificial ingredients and paraphernalia, but Bharat Maharaj would think, oh, this deer is so cute, so sweet, and he's performing these special pastimes. And he would get attracted to the deer like that. But his main duty, what he was doing so nicely before, he forgot. And even one day, the deer left the hermitage and went to the forest because he had grown up and he was independent. And Bharat could not stop thinking of this deer, and he dies actually thinking of this deer, and that's the cause of his fall down. Next life he becomes a deer, but thereafter Krishna always gives opportunity, and he becomes there is a nice pastime of Jada Bharat. So here what I'm trying to say is that similarly, like how Bharat Maharaj compassion on deer was false, and the cause of his fall down, such a compassion was a big distraction to his real duty. So similarly, Arjuna's compassion on his so-called swajanam is on the bodily plane and is false. So he's forgetting his spiritual dharma and duty to Krishna and his own swadharma of a Kshatriya. So right now Arjuna has forgotten that, and he has two dharmas. Swadharma as a Kshatriya he has to fight, and even secondly as Sanatana Dharma also he will have to fight, because he has to follow what Krishna says. We are all have to follow what is written in Bhagavad Gita and Shastra if we want to live a righteous life. So that's what this verse is about, and I want to finish on time. It's 8:29, which is good. And the Srila Prabhupada, I was searching on compassion, what Srila Prabhupada has to say. So if someone would like to read here this small paragraph, because this verse, the theme is compassion. The reason, first reason not to fight is compassion. So let's see what Srila Prabhupada says. Who would like to read?
Can I read it, Mataji?
Yes, Shipra Mataji, sure.
When a person is advanced in spiritual consciousness or Krishna consciousness, he naturally becomes very sympathetic towards all living entities suffering in the material world. Naturally, such an advanced person thinks of the suffering of the people in general. However, if one does not know of the material sufferings of fallen souls and become sympathetic because of bodily comforts, as in the case of Bharat Maharaja, such sympathy or compassion is the cause of one's downfall. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you so much. Srimad Bhagavatam 589. So here Well, what is Srila Prabhupada saying? It is completely based on also what here Srila Prabhupada is talking about the Bharat Maharaj pastime, and also how it is related to Arjuna. That if a person is having a sympathy towards someone for their bodily comforts, because Arjuna does not want to kill, he's thinking of their body should live, then that kind of compassion is based on their material suffering. So what happens is that if they are unrighteous, then they have done those karmas, then they have to be punished for their reformation. When Krishna punishes, it is also out of mercy, because unless they go through that karmic reaction, they cannot start afresh again. They cannot come back onto the path of bhakti. So if somebody has done something wrong, then they are punished, and Kshatriya has to kill the miscreant. But if he keeps this kind of compassion, then that is on the bodily plane. That's what Srila Prabhupada is saying. And even Bharat Maharaj, how he had that bodily compassion and attachment to deer, that became a big downfall for him. But Krishna is very merciful. He came back onto the path of bhakti, the following birds. And yes, so Krishna is very, very merciful. And to summarize this verse, Arjuna's compassion is due to soft-heartedness, being a pure devotee, and Srila Prabhupada has given this reference of a Bhagavatam verse in the purport. By unflinching devotion unto Supreme Lord, all good qualities manifest. Non-devotee, in contrast, like we saw Dhritarashtra, he cannot understand the message of Bhagavad Gita. He may be advanced by education and culture, but he lacks godly qualities. Hovering on mental plane, he is certain to be attracted by material energy. What indicates Arjuna's soft-heartedness is that he is sympathetic for both the parties, and his doubts will be refuted by Lord Shri Krishna in second chapter, mainly in the section verses 11 to 30. And we can see the signs of compassion in Arjuna's body is exhibited by his limbs started quivering, his mouth was drying up, and Srila Prabhupada says, even though it is not mentioned in the verse, we can imagine that Arjuna is crying out of compassion. So that's the summary of 27 and 28. And I want to also mention here that tomorrow there is a special message from His Grace Divyanam Prabhuji that there is a special event, and I am requesting please attend this beautiful event tomorrow on Zoom, and the joining ID and the password is on the flyer. And in the light of Bhakti Vinod Thakur's disappearance day, which is coming in 1 month's time, we encourage and inspire everyone to please attend this nice event tomorrow. We have special speakers, as you can see on the flyer, and it's at 2:55 p.m. tomorrow. So let's all gather together and join this beautiful event. So I really want to request, inspire, and encourage you to please attend this event. And it's 8:34. I welcome any questions, comments, and any corrections, so we can have some discussion for the last 10 minutes.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Hema Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances.
Hare Krishna. And same to you, Mataji. Wonderful class. Thank you for that. Talking about compassion, I was just wondering why Bhishma Deva did not show that compassion when he was attacking Arjun and Krishna. And the description is that he was almost forming a circle. That's the speed at which he was throwing out the arrows.
Yes, very nice question, Mataji.
And so
Yes.
didn't he have any kind of compassion? He obviously took the duty towards Duryodhana more important than compassion.
Yes.
I'm losing.
Yes, Mataji. Okay, I gathered, I got the gist of your question. Your internet connection is a little bit unstable, maybe, but I understood what you're saying is that while Bhishma Pitama did not show any compassion and he fought with with Arjuna's army, and he wanted to kill Arjun, and then why? This is wrong, right? Is that your question, Mataji? Hare Krishna, are you there? Okay, so I think that is what is your, you are muted, right? Okay, so is that your question, Hema Mataji, that why did he not show compassion? Okay, Mataji is muted. Maybe I think, okay. So what I can understand, Mataji, is that Bhishma Pitama, first of all, he had taken an oath. He had given a promise to his own father that he will not marry. First of all, he will not have children, and he will always protect the throne of the kingdom. Whoever sits on that throne, he will be protecting, looking after, and that was the main, the theme or the life goal for him, to be alive. That is his main purpose, that he has to look after and protect the throne and whoever is on that throne. So on that basis, he was fighting on the side of Duryodhan, because Duryodhan and his father were on they were, Dhritarashtra was the king, and then Duryodhan was the next one to become the king. That's why he's fighting on the side of Duryodhan, but in his heart, he knows that this Duryodhan is very sinful, and he even knows he's never going to win. But look how actually it is to be admired, that how Bhishma Dev is bound to his duty, and when he fights with his full ability. It is not that he does his duty half-heartedly. Even though he is a devotee of Krishna, he loves Pandavas, but when he is protecting the throne and his promise given to his father, he is doing that duty very well. So as we have seen that when a Kshatriya is on the battlefield and fighting and protecting a certain party that he belongs to, he has to fight. At that time, he cannot show compassion, even though in his heart he loved the Pandavas, and he even knew the outcome of the war, and he knew that Lord Shri Krishna will always protect them. So, in that sense, I don't think he had to show any compassion, but he had to fight because he had given the promise that he will protect the throne. Does it make sense, Mataji? Hema Mataji, are you there?
Yes, thank you. Sorry, my phone's gone. The battery's gone. Sorry about that. I'm using Silashi's phone.
Some time, but
Yeah.
I don't know. Did you manage to hear me?
Yes, I did. I was listening to Silashi's phone. So yeah, that
Great.
makes sense. I just couldn't understand why righteousness and not righteousness. And he knew the difference. Even then, he overrides that
Yeah.
and just plays his duty towards Duryodhan. That's why. But yeah,
Yes.
thank you, Mataji.
No, thank you for your question actually, because Bhishma Pitama is one of the very favorite characters of mine, along with other characters in this Mahabharat. But there are so many also elevated devotees, senior devotees here. Please add and give your understanding as well. I have just given what little knowledge I have, so that what I shared. But even later on, Lord Shri Krishna rewards Bhishma Pitama, right? That we know on his deathbed, they all gather together and Lord Shri Krishna is present himself. So he rewards Bhishma Pitama for his heart, because he knew that in the heart, Bhishma is there, a devotee, but he's fighting because he has to basically be on the side of Duryodhan because he's bound by his duty. So there is no compassion for Kshatriya once they start fighting, because then he will not do justice to Duryodhan if he does not fight with his full capacity and ability. So any more reflection, questions, dear devotees? We have 5 minutes, or we can end if there is nothing to share. I hope I covered the points of 27th and 28th verse, and if there is any confusion or query, or comments? Then this is such a beautiful chapters, really. There is so much to learn here. Each verse of Bhagavad Gita is giving so much teaching to us. And this verse, I think the teaching is to do our duty, keeping Krishna in the center, and always think on the spiritual plane and have compassion for everyone around us, but at the same time doing our duty as per our Varna and Ashrama, keeping Krishna in the center. Swadharma and Sanatana Dharma. So, okay, and there is this reminder here, go to Goloka, and that is tomorrow at 2:55 p.m. It's a very, really nice event. I would not miss it. Please be there, put it in your diary, and please come. And Jyoti Mataji, today I just wanted to mention that Dhruva was supposed to recite the Sanskrit verses, but he did not recite. So could you please communicate with the parents and give him a turn to recite? You are there, Mataji? Jyoti Mataji?
Hare Krishna Mataji, Santosh Mataji here. It wasn't Dhruva who wasn't able to recite, it was Parth.
Yes, Parth. I'm so sorry. Okay, Parth. Yes. So Parth was supposed to recite today. Is that right? Sanskrit. So Jyoti Mataji, can please put that in the rota for next time?
Yes, I've already informed her. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, so Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. And I would like to pay my obeisances to all the assembled devotees, and please forgive my mistakes and please give me your blessings so I can do some service. Without your blessings, I believe I cannot move an inch. So please bless me. And Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitana Pavani
Hare Krishna, Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.
Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you everyone.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Mataji. Thank you, devotee.
Thank you, Jai Shri
Thank
Mataji.
you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hari Bol. Thank you, Krishnangi Mataji. Hari Bol.
Hare Bol.
Hari Bol. Thank you.